Poem by Amos Russell. The shadows lie soft on the grass, floating in sunshine seas. From shadow to shadow I pass, under the sleeping trees. Token of rest and delight, the shadow encircled by light. Hello, my name is Susan Dorsey. My friends Miss Andrea Avendano and Miss Sarah Dittrich and I are excited to be working with you through our project titled Illuminating Seeds, highlighting ancestral and local knowledge through art and science. This project provides opportunities for students and teachers to connect and share about their relationship to nature through art. Throughout our project, we are working with 4 classrooms, 2 in the United States and 2 in Chile. We are working with elementary and high school students. Together, we will create art, share our ideas, learn from guest speakers, and exchange art and letters between the US and Chile. We will do 3 different activities related to observation and reflection art activities. The activity we are presenting today is about drawing shadows. In this video, Miss Sarah, Miss Andrea, and myself will demonstrate the activity. Afterwards, your teacher will facilitate this activity with you. We will show you this activity in 4 steps. Because this lesson involves looking for shadows outside, we have to wait to do this until there is sunlight so we can see shadows. The Earth rotates at a 23.5-degree tilt on its axis every 24 hours, giving us day when it's facing towards the sun and night when it's facing away from the sun. The direction of the tilt never changes. The Earth also revolves around the sun at a tilt, taking 365 days to make a full revolution around the sun. Because the Earth revolves around the sun at a tilt, the sun's light shines differently on different parts of the Earth at different times of the year. As the Earth orbits the sun, different parts of the planet are exposed to direct sunlight. Because of the Earth's tilt, the seasons are reversed in the northern and southern hemispheres. When it is winter in the United States, part of the northern hemisphere, it is summer in Chile, part of the southern hemisphere. The light and shadows that our student collaborators in the US are seeing is different from the light and shadows our student collaborators in Chile are seeing. When I traveled to South Georgia and Antarctica in November as a Grosvenor Teacher Fellow with one of our teacher collaborators, Ms. Harnish, we noticed this difference in the light. The summer season in Antarctica is just beginning in October and lasts until February. During that time, Antarctica is on the side of the Earth tilted toward the sun and is in constant sunlight. March through October are the winter months in Antarctica when the continent is on the side of the Earth tilted away from the sun, which causes the continent to be dark for 24 hours during those months. South Georgia follows a similar seasonal cycle: summer, December through March, and winter, June through September. Here are some of the shadows we saw as we observed wildlife in the southern hemisphere. In this activity, we will trace the shadows that the light makes near us when it can't pass through an object. We are creating a record of light, Earth's rotation and revolution, that we will share with our collaborators through a mail exchange. First, Miss Andrea will share a brief history of how artists have used shadow and light to create artwork and share stories throughout time.
So art and science have always worked together. On the first slide, we have Nancy Holt art piece. This is a land art piece where the artist works on the reflection of the movement of the sun that is captivated in these huge cylinders that she made. But this reflection is also shown on the second slide where we can see the astronomy room made by the Incas in Machu Picchu, Peru. The third slide, it's a drawing that shows us the technique of light and shadows. Shadows make us think about depth and the light, the relationship between this depth and light made us think about volume. This type of technique in the art has been well developed in a movement called chiaroscuro that is shown on the first slide with a Caravaggio painting. But in slide number 5, we can see an illustration of probably the biggest invention between art and science, which is photography. Still, I think the relationship between light and shadow is not only taken, of course, by the Western civilization. In slide number 6, we can see an example of shadow puppet theater. This type of theaters was created in China 2,000 years ago. And just like in slide number 7, this technology has been taken by contemporary artists to reflect on other type of issues. In slide number 7, we can see a part of a piece by Kara Walker, where the artist reflects on silhouettes and stereotypes. Slide number 8 is also a piece by Kara Walker, where she makes, through this type of shadows, she creates a type of theater and a whole storytelling on the wall. Other artists, like in slide number 9, has also worked with the technology of shadow puppet theater. Slide number 9, it's a piece called Shadow Theater by Christian Boltanski, and he works there not only on the fact of shadows, but also the big reflections that shadows can have in a room. Slide number 10 is also a work by Christian Boltanski, and the interesting thing is that he also worked on the symbols that all this technology can give us. The fragility of light. He works with candles, a very human scale way of making light and shadows, and the different shapes that this type of light and shadows can create.
Now that we have learned about how artists have worked with light and shadow, let's look at the different steps you will take to create your own art piece with shadows from nature. Step 1 of this activity is about meditation. Meditation helps us train our attention, awareness, and clear our thoughts. During this step, Miss Sarah will lead us in a meditation exercise that your teacher will facilitate with you after the video. This step is important because meditation helps us to slow down the mind. This helps us become more aware of our surroundings. Meditation can help us better focus on our senses, which we will need for Step 2, our exploratory walk, Step 3, tracing shadows, Step 4, reflection, and then finally, Step 5, our mail exchange. Let's watch.
Before we start our exploratory walk, we will begin by slowing down our minds and bodies through meditation. The exercise we will do together is called Solar Alignment Walk, and was taken from Elastic City's book called Prompts for Participatory Walks. Let's begin. Stand up straight and turn so that your back is to the sun. Look down at your shadow and pay close attention to its size and shape. Now close your eyes and stand very still. Imagine the entire planet beneath your feet. You're standing atop a globe. It may be helpful to envision that you are standing on a small ball and the ball is slowly growing. Visualize the globe slowly turning underneath you. It's turning in the direction that you are facing away from. Remain with your eyes closed for about a minute. After a minute, open your eyes. Do you notice how your shadow has changed? The turning of the planet under your feet caused your shadow to grow or become shorter depending on the time of day you are outside. Now, try to feel that motion, the planet slowly turning.
Take a sketchbook or piece of paper and clipboard, pencil or pen. Now that we've slowed down our minds and brought our senses online through meditation, Let's walk slowly and use our senses to look closely at the shadows around us. As you notice the shadows around you, or in this video, notice what thoughts or questions are coming to mind. As I was looking at the shadows around me, many questions came to my mind. I wondered, are the shadows longer than the objects they are mirroring, or shorter? Where are the shadows in relationship to the objects they are mirroring? What direction are the shadows facing? Do the shadows look like the objects they are mirroring, or are the shadows different from the objects they are mirroring? How so? Are any of the shadows moving? Shadows can be felt. How does the shadow feel temperature-wise? Do I notice a difference when I am standing in the shadow versus standing in the sunlight? Your answer to this question might be yes, or it might be no, depending on what season you're in. Do shadows mean something different to me depending on what season I'm in, and why?
I like this shadow because it's past midday and the shadow covers around the tree. Choo, 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 choo. Choo, 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 choo. Oh, here it is. My shadow under the tree.
I decided to write down my observations and journal about what I was noticing. Here is what I wrote in my journal. I noticed the shadows of leaves and thin branches dancing on the ground as the wind moved them to and fro, almost as if these shadows were living and breathing all around me. Some of them looked like they were stretching and reaching to the furthest points they could, while others looked like they were only just rising for the day. I was interested in the shadows of the buildings and man-made objects against the shadows of natural beings like trees, one dancing and the other still, but both creating beautiful contrasts next to each other. As we slow down and notice the beauty within the shadows around us, let's make artwork in collaboration with nature by tracing some of the shadows we observe to create a collage. First, find a shadow that drew your attention during the exploratory walk. Look for shadows that have small details that can fit onto your paper. Next, hold or lay your sketchbook on the shadow you chose. Reposition your body so you are not blocking the shadow. Position the shadow onto the paper by finding where you like the shadow the most on your page: the center, the side, the top, or the bottom. If your shadow is too big to fit completely onto your page, find a portion of it that will. Take a pencil or pen and trace the outline of the shadow you see. If the shadow is moving in the wind, try to move your pencil with it. It's okay if your outline doesn't look exactly like the shadow you are tracing. Trace 3 to 4 different shadows onto your page. When you're finished, you'll have a page filled with flowing lines that intersect and overlap with one another. You might also try this activity a different way. For example, you could trace the morning shadows you observe in one color and trace the afternoon shadows in another color and record how the shadow moved and changed during the day. In this activity, we made space to meditate to help us slow down for an exploratory walk to notice the shadows around us. We spent time observing and thinking about shadows and creating artwork with nature through shadow collages. Next, let's uncover the meaning behind our observations by reflecting or thinking deeply about what we saw and did and discuss it. Here are some questions to help us think deeply and discuss with classmates. What stood out to you as you were observing shadows during your exploratory walk? What shadows did you choose to trace and why? What stood out to you while you were tracing the shadows? Make a prediction about how the shadow might change or look different at another time of day. Did you notice something about a space you had never noticed before?
So I have my final shadow collage, and what stood out to me the most while I was tracing the shadows was noticing all the light and dark areas within the shadow. While I was tracing, I had to decide which areas I wanted to include and which areas I wanted to leave out. And I noticed the light and dark areas were created by the parts of the object that were closer or farther away from my paper.
As an optional step, if you have extra time, you can use colored pencils, markers, or paint to add color to your shadow collages. Look at how Miss Sarah added color to her shadow collage. Our classroom collaborators in the United States are going to mail their drawings to our teacher and student collaborators in Chile. On the back of your drawing, you might write a note to them in English or Spanish. You can tell them your name, something interesting about yourself, where you are from, and what shadows you observed and traced onto your paper.